again, thank you so much for joining us on the Hub Crawl today. Really appreciate you coming out and sort of speaking to us a little bit, about your origins and where you're going, and especially why Cardiff. So, which is the first question, which is, can you introduce yourself and how you ended up here?
Yep, so I'm Rebecca Thomas, hello. I'm the director at Rocket Science. I'll pass it over to Fireside.
Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Harlan. I'm the VP of Engineering over at Rocket Science.
I'm Sav Tori Felicia, but Sav, everybody knows me by, and I am GM of Atomic Theory, which is part of Rocket Science.
So I'll talk a little bit about kind of why Cardiff and why Rocket Science kind of came about. So Rocket Science is founded by two co-founders, Tom Daniel and Brian Corrigan. Some of you in the room have probably already met them. They've been at GDC the last few years with the Welsh Government. We've had a few launch parties, which I've seen a few familiar faces. They've kind of met them there. So Tom and Brian are kind of industry veterans. They have been friends for many, many years across the tech scene, across the globe, and they always said if there was ever an opportunity for them to work together, they absolutely would. So happy for us, that came about. But there was one proviso for them working together, and that they wanted to do it their way. They wanted to try and seed game industry growth within their hometowns. So Brian, being a New York state person, seeded the headquarters up in New York in July 2022. And then happily in July 2023, Tom set up the European headquarters here in Cardiff. So Tom is a Bridgend boy. He had moved down to, he had to leave Wales to pursue his gaming career. Many years ago, he moved down to Southampton first, which is where you met Steve. Moved down to Southampton first, and then he moved over to Texas, where he's been now for several years. So why Cardiff? Biasly, I'm a Cardiff girl. It's, we are a capital city. We've got great infrastructure. We have got great support from the Welsh Government, who is very supportive of games growth in the industry. Schools, graduate programs, are in abundance in South Wales. It's just trying to find those kind of quantity of jobs after the graduation. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here in Cardiff. I'm surprised that not other companies have done it, to be honest. It's kind of like, it feels like we're a bit of a sleeper option. We've kind of stealth through the back door.
You'll be the guinea pig.
We're the guinea pigs. But, we're absolutely made up to be in Cardiff, and the support that we've had, both of, the educational system, the government system, and, the local companies that are already here.
And sort of thinking about, obviously, once you set up recruiting for the studio, how has that been in Wales?
Yeah, I'll be honest, it has been tricky. It's been tricky because finding game-specific experience has been difficult. We have a lot of games courses in South Wales. I think I counted 27 courses last year in South Wales, really good quality ones. But like I said a minute ago, it's having that quantity of jobs off the back of it. Those courses have been going for the last X amount of years, churning out graduates every year, but where are they going? Without having that quantity of jobs and quality of jobs to be able to sustain it, a lot of people are doing the gaming courses and then leaving the industry either to do more generic tech jobs, or actually leaving the country to go and get jobs outside of Wales. Mm-hmm. So that has been difficult itself. We've done our very best to do finishing launch parties and to try to generate some interest around bringing gaming experience back into Wales. And we've had some actually very good traction off the back of those two events. And we've had a number of our team members, Sparkles and Matt here today, shout out, who have actually come back from various corners of the globe to come and work in quality jobs within Wales. So that's been really nice to see. I'll pass on to Steve Wilson.
Yeah, so the Rocket Science has got two kind of core areas at the moment. Atomic Theory, which is over at SAP side of things, and Terminal Velocity, which is one of the areas that I kind of head up as well. And the Terminal Velocity is really kind of focused on some of the back-end technologies that really support the infrastructure behind these games. And from that side of things, we've been able to leverage talent from other industries, bringing those across You know, if you do a survey in a room, you know, so it's a bit like birthdays, and ask anybody whether they actually enjoy gaming, everybody's pretty much going to put their hand up, right? So giving people from alternative industries the option to move into the games industry has been one of our key successes. I think if you look at our terminal velocity team, there's a small amount that actually had gaming experience when they joined Rocket Science. So we're providing opportunities there, really, and it is enabling us to get some really nice talent coming into it from other industries within Wales.
So I run Atomic Theory, and that is the in-game side of rocket science. So I need very specialised people because we're employed by companies to sort of solve the hard problems for them, bolster teams and things like that. So I need the experienced people. There's not a lot of game jobs in Wales, so finding experienced people in Wales has been a challenge. It's also had some benefits, as Becky says. We've had people reach out to us and go, hey, I'm from Wales, I've had to move away to get a job, I want to come back, been quite successful there. But we're kind of hitting that ceiling now, and it's hard to convince experienced people, even Welsh people that have moved away, they've got established families and things like that, so going, hey, you want to come back to Cardiff? And it's like, no, my son is in this school and things like that. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we're working on it, and the idea with Atomic Theory really is that once we've got that sort of foundation of experience in the company, then recruitment will get easy, because there are a lot of games courses, but we need a lot of support, we need the infrastructure, we need experience in the studio to be able to take on graduates and then train them up. So at the moment it's a bit difficult, but it should be easier in the future.
So when you're saying that gap experience, which obviously you're not by yourself with that is an industry-wide problem. What you're doing with bringing people from outside games, is that where you're starting to, or trying to fill in the gaps, is bringing from outside the industry to fill in the more experienced roles, and then that might open up for more junior? Is that the kind of direction you're going?
From the terminal velocity side, yes, right, we have that ability. So there's a lot of transferable skills. We use very common languages. Infrastructure is a global initiative, and you know, having people come in with good cloud experience enables us to bring talented individuals in to solve some of the gaming specific problems. We've still got a core of high-level engineers that have that gaming experience on top of that core experience. So we're in that situation a little bit ahead of, you know, where we are with the atomic theory side of things, because of that ability to bring in additional talent. But you're right, we're building that up, we're building that experience, and then we're starting to fold in some of the more junior engineers where we can actually, you know, bring them in and teach them best practices. One of the challenges that you always get with recruitment is that you might have somebody who's got X years worth of experience, but it is a good experience with the right level of talent that is sat behind them, guiding them on their career to ensure that, you know, when they come in. And one of the challenges from the game side of things, you know, if you're running an infrastructure for a game solution and that game is offline on day one, you don't get many chances for day one, right? Get one chance for day one. So you really do want to have those kind of boring launches, which it really requires the engineers that will understand the nuance of the game industry as well as the scaling industry from infrastructure side of things.
And thinking about the graduates as well, do you think, is there a desire that they want to stay here rather than having to move, and stop the potential opportunities that they can stay here means a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we're speaking to Richard and we literally will get hundreds of, I think we've actually probably had hundreds of requests from graduates about, you know, jobs and placements and internships. I'm happy that have just employed our first graduate. She starts in the next 2 weeks on our Atomic Theory brand, so that's amazing. But yeah, there is so much hunger for graduates. Like I said, the courses are there, you know, they're coming out of the educational system. There's a little bit of a gap between obviously people coming right out of university and then having a company with the infrastructure to support the ongoing growth. So we needed to make sure that we got that foundational knowledge and the stability in order to kind of nurture graduate growth. I think we're kind of getting to that stage now, so we've kind of got to the critical mass and we've got enough skills to get a certain experience in which we can take on a few graduates. The aim is to take on more, but we need a few more Yonders before we get some more Padwans. Yeah.
I mean, it's been incredible growth already. We'll touch on this a little bit later on, but from where you started to now, it has been sort of incredible growth here in Cardiff. I think a little bit about working globally. With you working, obviously you've got the New York studio, and I'm guessing you'll be working with other companies around the world as well. How do you make the process as efficient as possible?
Yeah, so there's a lot of challenges, but it's the technology, leaning into the technology and allowing that to work for you, right? There's all of the hybrid working that we got used to a lot more over the period of where we had COVID, and ensuring that at the end of the day that we're supporting the engineers across the globe, right? One of the big challenges there is time zones. So we're a global company where, not only are we global, we're working with global entities that, we might be working with a team on a particular project in the UK and then they hand over to somebody in the US or even further afield, and ensuring that, we've got our foundations in place to be able to do those kind of time zone handovers is kind of really key. But also, as I say, the technologies that sit behind it, Slack, your asynchronous communication, your ability to summarize what you've got, what you've been doing, taking, automated notes, all of those kind of things really play into the opportunities that you get to make that engineering team really, really super efficient. Yeah, there's still challenges within that. Time zone is one of the key ones, and it's still not a solved problem, particularly when we change time zones and silly things like that, and you get those kind of hiccups. But there are definitely real opportunities for how we can solve those problems.
You mentioned the tech there. Sorry, do you want us to add to that?
Yeah. I was just going to say, actually, and Will touched on this earlier, everybody's used to working remote now, right? But still kicking things off with face-to-face is super important, right? And we're learning. I guess we're still coming out of the pandemic, right? And people are remembering that it's like, oh, actually, we used to do kick-offs, so we'd fly the team out to wherever our client is to do that face-to-face. So don't underestimate how important it is to meet real people at the start. Even then, it makes things work remote much, much easier.
Actually, you've just touched upon what I was just going to ask.
Sorry.
Which is, no, absolutely fine. Which is, you've mentioned the tech, but what is the role of some soft skills with this sort of global outreach? How does that come in, and how can you nourish it and make sure it goes?
So for soft skills, communication, it's interesting. At a company like Rocket Science, so both sides of it, our client communication is probably more important than a traditional game developer, right? Because we're servicing clients, we're helping clients, and often we're told that when they really need help and things are desperate, and so everybody's quite angry, everybody's quite tired, and so I think more so than most, the soft skills are very important, and it's quite interesting interviewing developers, engineers, and traditionally soft skills haven't been as important for like game developers, so that puts quite a different sign, and also increases the difficulty of hiring as well. But
yeah, and just from a soft skill, from a cultural point of view, a lot of companies do remote work now. It's nice to see Goldwork, and they've taken the studio stance as well. We've taken the studio stance to have one set up in Cardiff. We've got one in New York. We're up with another one in New York soon, and hopefully another location as well. So, it's really important having those kind of social interactions within your team as well as the clients, because, we're trying to launch the scene in industry here as a Wales gaming community, and a lot of that will be done through osmosis. A lot of that will be going, hey, what are you working on? We've got several different projects going on across several different clients in the Cardiff office, and the amount of conversations I get privy to as a non-engineer and listening to some of these conversations where they're kind of cross-language, cross-project, from UI, UX to kind of back-end, and they're all learning off each other. And you don't get that from a remote scenario. You don't get that from kind of having a cold computer screen interaction. So that's where these, and I know it's a bit old school, but a hybrid working post-COVID really felt like giving people the opportunity to both work in office and at home, because there's kind of there's beauty in both of them, so to speak. Whilst remote is great for focus work and getting your head down to get deadlines done, it still doesn't beat that kind of in-person interaction that you get from a studio where people are able to bounce off each other, especially where when you bring in graduates in and trying to upskill with gaining particular experience.
So would you say you're a hybrid studio, or
Yeah,
you're
absolutely hybrid.
hybrid?
Yeah, absolutely hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people's got the choice to, if they want to, they can.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And I'm sort of thinking more about Atomic Theory. So it recently launched Cardiff Studio. What made you decide to create this? And how do you think you'll harness sort of the knowledge you create through your with the company, with rocket science in general, and vice versa?
So I guess several answers to why did we create Atomic Theory? We wanted to have another Polish party, right? And so thanks to Cav for helping us get the dungeon, we're not allowed to call it the dungeon, what is it?
Yeah.
The lower croft in the castle, and that was awesome. So we got to have another party. I think, so again, to sort of rewind, Rocket Science was originally created by a bunch of back-end specialists of friends. And then, I guess, through who we were, we started to get some in-game engagements before we actually started to think about Atomic Theory. And then we realised, actually, we are a very specialised company, and it's important that we separate out the brands for several reasons. The first being the message to their customer, right? There's restaurants that sell all ranges of foods, right? Where you can go and you can get burger, sushi, Chinese, Indian, all under the one roof, right? But none of them are going to be that great. If you want good sushi, you go to a sushi restaurant. And so we wanted to get that message out to our clients, right? If you want in-game specialists, you come to Atomic Theory. If you want back-end specialists, you go to Terminal Velocity, rather than say, hey, we're rocket science and we're everything to everybody. So that was an important message to get out. I think as well, it allows us to have separate leadership teams that can specialise in their areas. I was brought in to run Atomic Theory. My background is 25 years of making in-game game development, as opposed to the back-end stuff that Steve does, which is a black box to me, the black art. So having those sort of separate leadership teams and allowing us to run the sides of the company slightly different as well, which is quite important. When you have like a team of engineers, they're all very like-minded, and production are then just supporting those engineers, and they tend to be very strong in their production themselves. When you have a multidisciplinary team of artists, designers, creatives, engineers, which is my side of the business, you've got a range of personalities there, and you tend to need the producer then to step up and sort of make sure everything's balanced across. So we don't run dramatically different. A lot of our processes, like our performance reviews, things like that, they're all the same across the company, obviously, but the way we develop our software is slightly different, and so it makes a difference that we're able to separate that out within the browser as well.
And so is there sort of cross-pollination between the teams as well?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should mention that that's one of the other strengths of Rocket Science, is the fact that we do have this specialist in game and back end in the same place. It's quite rare, actually, and it's amazing to be able, like I say, back end stuff to me has always been like a black magic that I'm like, right, I kind of know I need that for my game, let's get a team in to do that for us and stuff. Now that we have it in the same company and being able to feed back and forth does make a massive difference to how we develop games, and we're finding that clients are coming to us for that specific reason, right? So like my guys, like the Matts and the Steves of the world that have been focusing, and they have experience, they can reach out to the same people within the same studio and go, right, we aren't necessarily doing a contract that involves this, but we do need to touch on how do we do this, and vice versa. And then the other thing as well, just a range of languages across the studio. It's kind of, it's that thing of you're constantly expanding your knowledge, right? And everybody's, all the people are engineers, so they're very interested, and that cross-pollination just makes us better. But
And finally, you touched on this before, you've had absolutely fantastic growth since you set up here. Where do you see the next 12, 18, 24 months going?
more growth. That's the obvious one, right? More growth. We're starting to bring in strategies. You know, we've touched on it, and I have quite a concrete. Well, so I should say that my first job in the industry, I worked for a company that only employed graduates. That's how I got a job. And that was amazing to see, and that was very fruitful. That was a studio called Rare, which in the time were one of the best in the world. So it's obviously quite a successful model, and not many companies do that nowadays. So one of my ambitions is to get back there and be employing graduates. So, like we say, we need a bit of experience in the studio to be able to do that. So that's one of our concrete strategies over the next year, is make sure we have that level of experience, and we have graduates starting in a couple of weeks' time, which we're all very excited about. So that's a big thing. More growth as well. I mean, one of the other things, like, we don't want to limit our growth purely by the confines of Wales and Cardiff, right? And so we are looking at other hubs within the UK, within Europe, where we can pull on the experience. And then hopefully that will feed back into Cardiff as well, right? Because we don't necessarily have to have people on site to spread that experience. So really, expanding out hub-wise, expanding that sort of talent pool that we can draw on. And then, I guess, specifically from the atomic theory side of things, we're quite a new company. We've got a lot of great people with some real hardcore specialties. So it's about focusing in that, getting those projects in, start to build up a reputation as well, so that people are like, right, we've got this really hard problem. If we go to the atomic theory people, then they're going to be able to solve it for us, because they've already been doing that. I think in terms of velocity, they are much further along in that respect, right? Like Steve, for example, built multiplayer basically single-handedly, so people already are reaching out and going, hey, you've got Steve, can you come and build this scalable system for us, and things like that. For atomic theory, we need to sort of really start drilling down in that side of things. And then the other thing I have to say, from a personal interest, some of the projects that we're taking on are just really exciting, and it's allowing me to bring in different disciplines. So, like, game design is not really, we have designers in terms of UI, UX in the studio. We don't have any game designers in the studio at the moment, and we're starting to talk to a couple of people just now about bringing that in for projects. Really keen to bring in QA as well, because again, that allows us to sort of really use the educational programs that are trying to now qualify people. Is there anything I missed anything?
One thing.
What's that?
Well, we need another launch party, right?
Oh yeah, actually we need another launch party, but you can talk.
Well, you know, launch party, so we need another studio. Watch the space.
Yeah, we've just bought. We bought a firehouse in New York. It sounds a bit Ghostbusters. I promise you, it's not. It's like, I think 1970s fire station, more than Kubrick. So we've just purchased a firehouse in New York, which will be our global headquarters. Obviously, we have our hub in Cardiff. We're looking for another hub at the moment as well, to expand presence across Europe. And we're talking about Studio 3 currently. So we've got Turbo Velocity Studio 1, Atomic Theory Studio 2, and Watch the Space with Studio 3 coming out shortly.
So, again, super busy time.
Super busy.
And a potentially no away weekend in New York.
Yes.
It's not going to be an away day. Has anyone got any questions?
Pleasure.
I have. Who are your clients?
We discussed it.
Are they AAA games? Are they indie games? Tell us a little bit about.
We discussed this about whether what we could just.
Yeah.
Launch party side, which
Yeah. So we do have a mixture of clients for sure across both the indie, AA and AAA kind of space. Not only from the studios themselves, but also from the publishing side. Obviously, With Brian's experience, my experience from the back end side of things, we really kind of specialize in building those big scalable solutions, which are much more appealing to some of the bigger publishers who needed to work on day one, and then we got to be batching all of those systems. But I'll throw it over to Sam.
Yeah, so generally our clients tend more towards AAA side of things at the moment because we're not cheap, right? We're specialists, we employ the best of the business. I can drop one name, right? And it's probably, I shouldn't say this out loud, but it's my favourite project at the moment. The studio is Gang Beasts. So we do pretty much all. They've got one engineer in-house, but they supply the Bone Wolf team supply the creative, incredibly creative guys. We do all the engineering, heavy lifting for that, and then we're starting to, obviously I can't talk about too much about future plans. We start to build out platforms for them so we can bring out other games, but that's one where we can say, hey, all of Gang Beast engineering is done in Wales, so that's something to be proud of. I think that's about the only client I can talk about, unfortunately.
These two are like thing.
Any more questions?
No.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming along and doing the Fireside chat. It's been an absolute pleasure to do it and speak with you all. And thank you everybody for coming along. There's pizza and there's drinks, so the event goes about 8:30. So just mingle, have a good time, have a drink, have some pizza. Well, thank you so much.